Margie here. We've all heard about hypnosis, but did you know that it can be an extremely effective tool to help improve sleep, reduce anxiety, lessen the effects of chronic disease, and even help get control of negative beliefs and so much more? Well, this is what we're delving into today with our very special guest, Dianna Whitley. And Dianna is a hypnotherapist, coach, and best-selling author of 5 books, including Staying Young at Any Age, 15 Simple Steps to Turn Back the Clock. She discovered hypnosis over 25 years ago when she was unable to sleep or function after a tragic family loss. Through hypnosis, she was able to sleep on her own and work again after only the first session. She was so amazed at how powerful it was, she decided to get certified and make it her life's work. She had 3 very successful hypnosis centers in Beverly Hills, Santa Rosa, and Huntington Beach, California, called Positive Change Hypnosis, where she helped over 7,000 people. During the recession in 2009, she decided to go back into private practice and has been doing that online ever since and before COVID. People are often surprised that hypnosis can be done successfully online. In today's talk, we discuss how hypnosis works. Is it something that actually controls our mind? And what conditions can it actually help? And at the end, Dianna takes us through a short relaxation and stress reduction exercise that will really have you feeling blissful and re-energized. So stay tuned. Welcome, Dianna. I am really, really thrilled to have you. I can't wait to delve into this topic. It's so exciting. So welcome.
Oh, thank you. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much for asking me.
Oh, I just think this is something that everybody can benefit from. And people are really confused. They don't really understand what hypnosis is and how that you can actually use it to improve your health. You know, a lot of people think, or even I, when I first used to think about hypnosis, I would think about in San Diego, there was a hypnotist, who had people do crazy things. And that sort of, in your mind, you're wondering, is this legitimate? And so we're going to get into all that. But the best news is that we can use this to improve our health. And it's been scientifically proven. And it's just such a win-win and a tool that I really wanted to expose the listeners to, because I just think you need everything in your tool bag. And this can help. And I'm just very excited. But you know what, before we even get started and delve in, I always love to know the backstory, because people don't just get to where they are. So why don't you tell us how you got into hypnosis? And you've been doing it for so many years. And so why don't you tell us how it all started?
Okay, thanks, Margie. I was a writer and photographer for many years, and was doing real estate and this and that. And one day I had a younger brother who suddenly died very horribly. And I couldn't sleep without sleeping pills for a really long time after that. And I was incredibly depressed. I could hardly function. I went from being, all out doing different things to it was hard to take a shower. And it was going on for some time. And a friend of mine said, why don't you try hypnosis? And I thought, hypnosis? Why would I do hypnosis? And because I had all the stereotypes that you just mentioned, Hollywood and those stage shows have really hurt the whole image of the hypnosis. But I knew someone who did it and I trusted her. So I went there. I went mainly for insomnia the first time. And I went what we call out, which is very rare. Most people don't. That's a very small percentage of people. Most people hear everything and are just nicely relaxed. And at the end of it, I said, well, how do you know I was hypnotized? I feel like I just fell asleep. And she looked at me and she went, well, for one thing, you came to me for intense insomnia and you went like that. I thought, oh, good point. So she recorded the session, which is what I do too. And I went home and I started sleeping like a baby every night. And after 3-4 nights of that, I thought, I want to hear what she's saying to me, because I would just fall asleep immediately. So I sat at the kitchen table and I listened to every word. And I got more and more fascinated. I called her, asked her a bunch of questions. I noticed that the depression was lifting, that suddenly I wanted to do things again. I was motivated, I had energy. So I kept asking her these questions, and she said, I think you'd make a good hypnotherapist. Before I knew it, I had gotten certified. She and I went into business together. We had very successful centers in California. The first one was in Beverly Hills, and then I split off and had my own up in Santa Rosa, and then I had another one in Orange County, where I saw thousands of people until the recession. It was a big center with a big nut to crack. They were expensive programs, so I decided to just do it one-on-one. And I realized I could do it out of my home doing Zoom way before COVID, because people's eyes are closed and they're listening to my voice. They can be in a different state, in a different country. They don't have to be in my office.
Wow. So
So,
isn't that funny that you were like way ahead of the times with them, way before COVID? So what have you seen? What have you seen? What things has hypnosis really helped people with, in terms of their health? Like what have you really found that hypnosis can be used for from all your experience with thousands of people?
okay. If I were to do a list,
Yeah,
on
yeah.
a slideshow, it would go on and on and on and on, but I'll just zero in on some of the biggest ones. Weight loss is huge. That was probably 80% of what we did when I had my centers, because people can suddenly have a different relationship to food. They don't feel deprived. They don't have those feelings of irritability because they can't have what they want. They just suddenly want different foods and they want to exercise. Stopping smoking is huge. Same thing. People don't feel put upon and deprived. They don't have withdrawals. They don't gain weight because they're doing it from a whole different place because they want to. But also, hypnosis can be used for things that people might not have thought of. Irritable bowel syndrome, which medicine has very little answer for, responds very well to hypnosis. Um, and IBS, if you don't
Yeah, no, and in
know
this,
it by that.
people who are listening, IBS and irritable bowel is such a big problem with osteoporosis and any type of GI issue,
Oh, I
when
didn't know that.
major, because they're not absorbing nutrients. There's a problem. And so,
Oh,
yeah, huge issue. So a lot of
okay.
people start out with digestive problems, IBS, Crohn's, whatever it is, and then they also have osteoporosis. So it's something that goes hand in hand. So that's a huge issue for a lot of the people listening. So yeah,
Okay.
continue. Okay, so
So
keep on
then
going. Yeah.
a big one is limiting beliefs. There's a core belief that it amazed me because I was working in places that were very, Beverly Hills, Orange County. And yet person after person after person that came in was suffering from low self-esteem, not feeling enough, and what we now call imposter syndrome, always feeling like, well, if you really knew me, the real me, you wouldn't like me so much, and always feeling not up to the task. Well, that also affects your health. First of all, it puts you in a stressful position, but you don't feel worthy of going to the gym as much as you would like to. You don't feel deserving of giving yourself organic food. You So there's a big connection there. Also,
Can I ask you something? Can
of
we just go on
course,
that for a minute? Because
oh,
that's such a huge belief of mine, that the mind body, I know you believe this as well, are connected. And you need to, I mean, that's why I teach happiness, and that's why I work so much on stress with every single person I see, because you can't separate it. And so you're exactly right. People just aren't going to have that motivation to exercise and eat well. And then the stress itself and the cortisol affects their bones and really every aspect of their health. So it's amazing to me that the hypnosis can actually change the belief system. That's fascinating.
it's a relaxed state. Hypnosis is a big word. I like using words like creative visualization and relaxation. That's a little more, that takes it away from Hollywood. And the brain works through neural pathways, just like a path in the woods. The more you're on that path, the deeper it gets. And the brain learns with the conscious mind first, like when you learn to drive, it's very stilted, especially if you learned with a clutch. But just doing everything takes all your concentration. And then before you know it, you're driving, you're listening to the radio, you're talking to someone, it's an automatic behavior. That's how we do everything. It's how we learn to walk. It's how you learn to play a musical instrument. And it's because it goes from the conscious mind, which can only do 7 things at one time, and that's pushing it, especially today where people are under stress. Then it gets incorporated to the subconscious mind, which handles thousands of things all at once. So things become automatic behaviors, including our thought patterns. So as we're growing up and we hear, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, we hear so many negative things, either from our parents or our teachers, our friends, and that finds its way into the subconscious mind. You couple that with the fact that genetically we're wired for what we call negative bias. That's what science calls it. And a negative bias means that we're very prone to worry, fear, fight or flight. All of that's wired in because we had to be afraid of being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. And that hasn't changed that much. The tiger isn't there anymore, but all these stressful things, technology, which I had a firsthand experience of this morning, can kick us into that fight or flight. And that is such an unhealthy place to be. As you said, the cortisol starts pouring in. Doctors have been saying for quite a while that stress is probably 90% of what brings people into the doctor's office. It literally leads to death in the case of heart attacks, strokes, high blood pressure, but it also leads to just a poor immune system. And it's so easy to deal with this through these wonderful relaxation, experiencing. It's like practicing and rehearsing your life and you the way you want it to be in this wonderful, relaxed, blissful state. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I know what's exciting to everybody listening is near the end, we're going to experience a little bit of this. So we get a nice little taste of this. But it's just interesting. It's it's another way to help reduce stress. That's
Major.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd put that at the top of the list, even over weight loss, because stress is intricately connected with weight loss. It makes you overeat, it produces cortisol. I'd put stress as the number one thing that hypnosis is good for, stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
We've had a little stress this year. So if people are feeling forgetful, they walk into the room, they don't know why they're there, they get irritable easily. These are all stress indicators. It's not something you're always aware of unless you're aware that those are the way it plays out.
Wow. And what about depression as well?
Depression, anxiety, overeating, drinking too much, not sleeping well. All of those are things that are stress related,
and sleep is so, we need sleep. That affects our happiness. It affects our bones. It affects really everything. When, we're not sleeping, the whole system sort of falls apart. So each one of the things you said is just so very, very important.
Wow. I have to pull it up. I heard yesterday there was a major article, I think it might have been in the New York Times, about how sleep keeps you young and creates longevity.
Yes.
And that's another thing hypnosis does. I'll be 77 soon, and I have more energy than most 35-year-olds, and people never think I'm in my 70s.
Yeah, you look amazing. Isn't that great though?
Oh, thank you.
That you're not just talking it, you're walking the walk, and it really does work. That's what I love. And I think, you're a role model for so many, because that's my belief. It's not as though, oh, inevitably as we age, we have to fall apart and start deteriorating. No, we can even feel better than we've ever felt. So that's wonderful. So let's explain, because people are, there's a lot of confusion here. You hear about a hypnotherapist and a hypnotist, and what's the difference? What are we actually looking for, and what is, explain those terms.
On my side of the fence, it's usually pretty interchangeable. I'm in a lot of mastermind groups, and I know a lot of hypnotists. Almost all of them would call themselves either one interchangeably.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But hypnotherapist does imply more going back into where things started, traumas, more of your intensive problems. Um, so hypnotist sometimes sounds a little less frightening to people, a little less threatening. It doesn't imply that they have a huge problem. They just want their life to be better.
And do you find that you need to, what do you find? Do you find you need to go back into the traumas, or that's not necessary, or you find that's
Yeah,
important?
yes and no. That's a great question. It depends on what the person is dealing with. Certainly, it's essential in some situations. My the way that I do hypnosis is much more emphasis on what people want, much more emphasis on what they want to be true today and in the future. I get really clear on all the wonderful details of what'll it be like when you're at your ideal weight. What will you feel like, look like when you're exercising regularly and you're relaxed and feeling good about your life? What will you hear people say? What will I get all those details? People know the big picture, but when they know the details, that's what makes it really real and juicy. And then that's what I put in the hypnosis. So the first part of the session is covering what they want, getting really clear on it in every way. It'll surface whether or not there's something we have to go back. Um, Sometimes you could just do it really lightly. I'm not someone who likes to go back and re-traumatize people. There's no point in doing that. And then I create a session, record it, and they go to sleep listening to it every night. So they sleep really well. If they don't want to do that, they can do it first thing in the morning and have a great day, or take a break during the day. It's only about 20 minutes, so it's easy to do however they decide to do it.
Oh, I love that. So after a session, they have a recording they can do on their own. That's fantastic.
Well, the repetition is what's important because of those neural pathways. Neural pathways are just like a path in the wood. The more they're used, the stronger they get, the more it becomes an automatic response. So that's why in the first month, I really like them listening a lot. And then people usually like it. I mean, I listened last night to go to sleep, and I've been doing it for 20 years.
That's just incredible. I mean, how nice to just listen to something, and versus all the other options that so many of them are not things we really want to deal with.
Yeah.
So the question is, and people think, oh, well, I just can't be hypnotized. That's just not me. I don't believe in it, or my brain is so powerful that this won't work for me. So that is the question. Are there some people that, and I know whenever you go to any of those shows, they test people out before and see who, so does it work for everybody or only a segment of the population? What have you found?
Well, I give people a free consultation so that we could do some testing to see how good a candidate they are. Almost everyone can be hypnotized, but some people are better candidates than others, and that's why I do the testing. But there are really only three groups of people that absolutely can't be. One is someone who isn't smart enough. They're like below 100 IQ. They can't follow along. Another is someone who has been sent there by, say, a spouse or a parent. I want you to lose weight. I want you to stop smoking. They're not there of their own volition. They don't want to be hypnotized, even though they're there. And you can't hypnotize someone that doesn't want to be. Your mind is not going to permit it. And the other is someone who's drunk or on drugs at the time. They're already hypnotized. And by the way, we go in and out of hypnosis, what I would call a light trance state, all through the day. Most people have already been hypnotized by advertising or when and that's the repetition in advertising. The more you hear it, the more it becomes automatic. But also the thing of the strong mind. A lot of people think, well, maybe you have to be weak-minded to be hypnotized. It's the exact opposite. The smarter you are, the more imagination you have, the better a candidate you are. And the good news is you get better at it the more you do it. It's a learned skill, because in the end, hypnosis is self-hypnosis. It's what you allow, what you want, what I'm not controlling the person. They're gaining access to the part of them that creates these automatic behaviors.
Let's go over that again, because this is really important, because so many people think, oh, I'm not going to let someone else control my mind, and it's scary. And you see people like crawling on the floor like a cat, and you see all these things, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I am certainly not going to turn over my mind to anybody else. So repeat that again and really, really explain that, because I know for a lot of people that that's the image, and it's frightening. So why don't you
Yeah.
say what you just said and just maybe expand on that a little bit, because I think that is a fear of people, and as you're saying, it doesn't have to be.
Well, you see it in movies. I just got a book and I threw it away because it had someone hypnotizing people and having them do all kinds of things, and that just doesn't happen. I like to give a kind of crazy example. Say someone was coming to me to eat better and lose weight, and I thought that they said that they wanted to eat more broccoli, that they had been reading about broccoli and it was a great health food, and so they want to eat more broccoli. So I talked to them in the hypnosis session about all kinds of things, but in it I include, you're going to eat broccoli, broccoli for breakfast, broccoli for lunch, broccoli for dinner. They didn't want to eat broccoli. So their subconscious mind is just going to go, no, I'm not, no, I'm not, I don't want that. So it's the best possible way to make changes that you want to make. It's not something where you can, there'd be a bunch of very rich hypnotists if we could just hypnotize everybody to do what we wanted.
It's so interesting, because I think the other interesting thing that you and I talked about beforehand is that besides health, you can help people with money blocks. You've been very successful in other areas as well. But if people don't know they have these blocks and they're blocking from some other reason, as long as deep inside they still want it, they can achieve it. Does that make sense?
And I think smoking is a good example too. If someone wants to stop smoking and they come see me on Zoom, as long as they consciously want it, they can still have hidden fears about it. They can have ambiguous feelings, even though I've told them I'm not going to control them. They might have a little fear about that. All that's okay, as long as they want it, as long as this is something that they're doing out of their own true will.
Wow. So interesting. And so typically when someone sees you, how many sessions does it take to even know if you're getting any effects, or what do you find? I mean, I guess it really varies. That's probably.
Well, that's one of the things I do in the session that is a complimentary session. After getting to know them and what their goals are, then I suggest how many sessions. I'd say 3 or 4 sessions is pretty typical, which is too bad because it means I have to constantly find new clients.
Oh,
which is fine. It means I'm working with a lot of people.
That's good though. That's a wonderful thing, that you don't have to commit forever, that then they learn. I love that. I'm a big person that teach someone and let them take control themselves. And it sounds like that's what you're doing. You're giving them the resources, you're giving them the tapes. And so they can, or the recordings, that they can and do it themselves. That's great.
And I educate them about how the brain works. For instance, the brain believes everything you tell it, and it just says yes. So if you keep saying to yourself or out loud, oh, I'm a procrastinator. Oh, I can't do a public speaker. Oh, I hate exercise. Brain just goes, oh, okay, we hate exercise. We're not going to do it. Oh, okay, we're procrastinators. We're not going to do anything. Oh, we're always late. So it believes, and I educate on a whole bunch of ways that the brain works so that people can take that. And I teach them how to do self-hypnosis.
That's fabulous. That goes so along with what I teach about, negative self-talk is so damaging. And so it affects everything. So that I love that. That's great. And so what about someone who's listening and says, I don't really have any major issues. Is there any reason that they would partake in hypnosis? Could that help them, even though they're feeling pretty good? Like a health,
Well, it'll keep them younger. It'll keep their immune system better, and much better, because it actually stimulates the T cells and the interleukin cells. I'm not very good at talking about the science of it, but
the immune system.
Website. Mm-hmm. So it makes your immune system better, whether or not you feel it. you're under stress. We have lived in a stressful world for a long time, way before COVID. Now it's even more stressful. And even though people might feel they're dealing well with it, and they might be dealing well, they're still having the effects of it in their body. Um, so yeah, and it keeps you young. It gives you energy, helps you sleep better. Um,
Yeah,
what's not what's not to like?
it's such a win-win. It's just such a win-win situation. And it's certainly not something that, maybe smoking. I'm just trying to think, but for most people, I know no one in the doctor doesn't tell you, maybe you should try hypnosis. And, but I think that it's a wonderful thing to add to the toolbox. It just seems so great. Something I'm taking you up on this, and I know you're coming to my class, so I'm so excited as well to really delve into this. But there are some things. Yeah.
Also, if I can throw in, if people have heard about EFT or
I was just
tapping.
going to ask you that too, because you said there are certain things that seem to enhance the effects of a hypnosis session. So why don't you go there?
I teach people about breathing. Breathing is one of the most powerful things we have at our disposal. And the first thing people do when they're stressed out is start shallowly breathing. And then EFT or tapping, which that would be a whole class in itself. But in a nutshell, is you tap on these acupressure points when you say certain things. I've been teaching it. I've probably taught it to well over 7,000 people at this point. I have never seen it not work to remove a negative emotion like stress, anxiety, fear, anger, like that. 2-3 minutes, you can get rid of it. It might come back in another situation, but then you have this again. To be able to quickly do it takes 1 or 2 minutes, and eventually you don't even have to actually physically tap.
It's like I just say something about EFT. So we did have a speaker on EFT, and it's something I do on a regular basis as well.
Oh, good.
But my favorite place to do EFT, and I do the tapping part, is on the airplane during turbulence. Because who likes turbulence? But it so works. It's amazing. And I actually usually get, if my daughter's with me, the two of us do it. But also I'll get like the whole row doing it. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, no, it really works. It's amazing, but it's helped so many people. I'm just such a big fan of EFT and tapping. It's great. So that's wonderful that you incorporate that into your.
Oh, I think it's a must. I think everyone on the planet should have it. And now the science is in on it. Now they have studies where they have proven it works.
Yeah, it was so interesting. I remember hearing that, there's an association where they went to like underprivileged country. I mean, they've really taken it all over the world, and it's just helped so many people in so many different areas. I mean, that's great. That's really wonderful. So you know what, you said what we're going to do is do a little session. Dianna said she would let us get a little taste of it. Obviously on the podcast, we're not going to, and if anybody, you can tell them, but if anybody is driving, you certainly don't want to do this now, but we thought it would be fun to get a little taste of what it feels like. But then you have some other things, am I right, that you were explaining that people can follow up with? You want to just say that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, why don't you tell them about that? Yeah, before we do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would love to give anyone that might be interested in working with me a free session. You'll learn a lot more, and you'll learn about yourself, and you'll have in a couple of experiences. I'll do some testing. I will tell you how good a candidate you are, and whether or not I think I can help you. I also have a book, You're Amazing, itty bitty, staying young at any age book, and I talk about hypnosis there. And today we're not going to do hypnosis. It'll just be a little relaxation, creative visualization. But if you would like an audio, I'd be happy to send you one. And
oh, great. So what we'll do, I'll have the links for all of that in the show notes, so everybody who is interested can take advantage, which sounds really, really great. Okay, so I think we're all ready to just get a little taste of this. And was there anything else I was going to ask you about that? No, I think is there anything you want to tell us before we start?
Just as you said, if you're driving, pull over to the side of the road, or if you're doing something, come back and do this later. because even though it's not full hypnosis, it's going to take your focus away from your driving or paying attention to something that you need your attention on.
Okay, I'm going to
So,
make you big, actually. So, I guess they're going to close their eyes, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so you can go whenever you're ready.
okay, thanks. So, before you close your eyes, just roll your eyes up to the top of your head as though you're looking up through your forehead or looking at the stars, and keep blinking, keep holding your eyes up. Take a nice deep breath, filling your lungs with life-giving oxygen. Hold out to the count of 3 and exhale, and let your eyelids close down. Just allow yourself to relax. Put everything on the shelf for a few moments. You can get back to all of that later. Right here, right now. This is the most important thing you can do, is to give yourself the gift of a few minutes of relaxation. So take another nice deep breath, filling your lungs completely. Hold to the count of 3 and exhale, relaxing the muscles in the back of your neck, letting the shoulders relax, letting that relaxation move down to the ends of your fingers, letting it move down your back, into your legs, and down to your toes. And take one more nice deep breath, filling your lungs completely. Hold to the count of 3, and this time, exhale with a sigh and a wonderful feeling of releasing and letting go. Feeling how good that feels, just to let go, to relax. It's so good for you to just do this for even 2, 3, 4, or 5 minutes. It has an enormous effect on your body and your mind. So as you're relaxing, you might feel it as a heaviness. You might feel it as a warmth. You might even feel some tingling in your fingers or your toes. Your mind will probably continue to chatter and talk to you, because that's what our minds do. That's okay. Just keep coming back to my voice. Keep coming back to your breathing. Let all those thoughts go like leaves down a stream. Continue to breathe at your own relaxed pace. And imagine that you're somewhere beautiful. Maybe it's somewhere you've been on vacation. Maybe it's somewhere you'd like to go. Maybe it's a real place. Maybe it's an imagined place. I'm going to describe a beach, but you're always in control. So if you would rather be somewhere else, you just kind of get the idea of what I'm saying and then apply it to the mountains or a garden, wherever you want to be. So it's a beautiful day. There's a china blue sky, white puffy clouds. It's the perfect temperature for you. You feel the sand underneath your feet and between your toes, because you're on this beautiful beach, maybe the most beautiful beach you've ever seen. You're listening to the waves as they come in and out, in and out. You hear birds overhead. You smell the fresh ocean air. Maybe you smell suntan oil. Just notice all the details of what you're seeing, feeling, smelling. Maybe take your hand and put it on your heart for a moment. Just allow yourself to have this blissful, relaxed, wonderful feeling. Time out, time for you, time to give yourself self-care, self-love. So important. We can only love others as much as we love ourselves. And others can only love us as much as we teach them to, through our own relationship with ourselves. So give yourself some wonderful self-love. And again, if you feel it, if you have chattering going on, saying, no, I can't do that, whatever, that's okay. Just let that go. Say, thanks for sharing. I'm going to love myself right now. And it's okay. Continuing breathing at your own comfortable pace, feeling how good this feels. Imagining the rest of your day going really well. You're relaxed and calm, but energized all through the day. Things that might have bothered you in the past simply don't bother you anymore. You laugh more, you enjoy more, you savor more and appreciate more. And it all comes from this place of relaxation and self-love. In a moment, we're going to come back to room awareness on the count of 5. Even though this wasn't a total self-hypnosis, you're still in a deeply relaxed state. So 1, feeling more energized with every breath you take. 2, feeling more and more awake. 3, excited about the day ahead. 4 and 5, full of energy, full of enthusiasm, ready to take on the day, feeling great, feeling absolutely wonderful, as though you'd had a long and wonderful nap. Okay. So eyes open and back in the room of back to reality.
Oh, I want to go back to the beach. I loved it there.
And that's reality too, because the brain experiences everything that we think as being real. So you actually went to the beach as far as your brain is concerned.
I know, isn't that, it's just such a great way. In a very short time, you can snap into a much healthier state. That was fabulous. Oh, I loved that.
Good.
And it was so soothing. Oh,
Good.
I'm really energized. Yay.
Oh, great.
And so let's see, before we end, I know you were doing something, well, I mean, it's very generous of you to offer a session to people. Number 1. Number 2, everyone will have the recording that you're giving everyone to try a longer session so they really can get into it. And number 3, you're also offering the Happy Bones community a discount, which is so kind of you as
Yes.
well.
Thank you. And let me be clear, it's not a session that I'm giving people, it's a consultation where I'm going to answer their questions, test them, find out how good a candidate they are. They'll have an experience. There'll be a little bit of what would be in a session, but it's a consultation more than a session.
Yeah, but I think that's really great because people then can know, is this something you don't want to delve into something that's not going to be effective for you or doesn't really, you have to feel it. And I think you have to say, oh yes, it has to resonate with you. And you have to feel also, I think it's a two-way street here. So.
Oh, absolutely. It's a mutual consultation. I have said to some people, I really think this, that, or the other might be better for you. I don't think this is the right answer for you. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. I have to feel the person is a good candidate and that I can help them. And yes, I'm offering a very special discount to the Happy Bones people for a limited time. And I will tell you about that in the session, because first I have to know how good a candidate you are.
Yeah, of course.
That's what I'm recommending.
And I'm thinking for anyone with bone health issues and osteoporosis, there's so many areas that, the digestive issues, anything, I mean, even blood sugar issues and as well as the stress and not feeling good about yourself, or if you have issues with your exercise and eating, or you're feeling, or feeling overwhelmed. I see that as a really big problem with so many people I work with, that it's just overwhelming because it's scary and you have to do this and you have to do that. And, it just puts you, obviously it's the antidote to happiness. And so I see how this could be very effective for that as well. So there's just so many benefits. Is there any big takeaway that you want everybody to leave with? What would you say the biggest takeaway you want people that they can put into their life maybe right away?
That you really can be your own best cheerleader. A lot of us are our own worst enemies. And that's nothing to judge yourself about or feel bad about. It's that negative bias that I mentioned. It's kind of how we're wired, but it's possible to let it go and to become your own, as I said, cheerleader, where you're totally supporting yourself in what you want to do. And you can start doing that today. When you hear yourself say something negative to yourself, just go cancel, delete. No, that's not me. And then plug in what you want.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Well, I can't thank you enough. This has been so
Oh,
much fun. And I'm just excited because, as I said, just another tool, a really powerful tool that people can use that maybe they hadn't thought about. So thank you so much for bringing this to our
um,
attention and all your generous offers as well. I can't wait to do your tape. That's going to be your audio. It sounds really great. So.
great. And I thank you. I love doing this. I love your work and your groups. And thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I'm excited that you're coming to my reset class. I'm going to work with
I
everybody.
am
So,
too.
yeah. So, thank you so much. And I'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye bye, Margie.
Bye bye.
Thanks again.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Dianna as much as I did, and now have a better understanding of what hypnosis is and how you can use it to really improve your health. All the links that Dianna talked about will be in the show notes. So, bye for now. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.